Hello, welcome to SquishiVision, where I have just finished watching Picard Season 3, Episode 3, 17 seconds. And, well, loads of things happen. This is the Drop of Breaks episode, so you know it's going to be good. And can I just say, I don't like it when the dads argue. But I think maybe the first time ever Picard and Riker come head to head, and I'm like, gee, wow, that's it's new. I think it might piss off some fans, but I think it's actually interesting that we finally get some conflicts between them. And it's a different kind of conflict. Like, it's not like obliquely what's the word, antagonistic. It's more just this is what ends up happening, and then it's more like cold disappointment, and that's more like invasive. So let's follow let's do what we're going to do. Let's follow the B plot first between Raffi and Worf. That's the other bombshell. So spoiler alerts, the changelings are back. Wasn't expecting that. And this is kind of where the stories intersect, but it's less clear how it involves the Titan crew. But it turns out the person who was responsible for the terrorist attack was a changeling, and the terrorist attack was a distraction, which is very much a changing technique. You know, use deception and diversion and trick the Federation to zig when they should be zagging, kind of thing. So they Worf is like, hey, I'm Worf, and we introduce him in the most Worf-like way. Michael Dorn he's doing a really good portrayal of Worf. Unlike Drop Breaks, he's not exactly replicating Worf when we last saw him in Deep Space Nine. He's reusing some mannerisms of Worf, but there's also lots of like new elements that we haven't seen in that Worf do before, or like certain, like he's more mellow in some respects, but like the way he speaks and the way Michael Dorn speaks, I mean, this don't mean disrespect. Michael Dorn's delivery of Worf is something very much like, well, as you know, exposition, you know, like things. It's very in the fact. It's not natural, but it fits the character very well. It's like a character kind of doesn't care. He's a fictional character in a TV show, and he's just gonna spit the facts out. And that's all still here, but like in other respects, it's much more mellow. He's aged, and it's like, well, yeah, he's 20 years older. That's how he's gonna be. So that makes sense. And he's still like fit as a fiddle. He's able to effortlessly disarm Raffi and they go after the changeling and they capture the changeling, and they do a good cop bad cop, but it's kind of the weaker execution of good cop bad cop. Worf was kind of almost satirically a good cop, but not a genuinely like naturality good cop. Raffi was a bit too like non-threatening enough, considering what she could be threatening with him with, kind of thing. It wasn't that great, but to discover that actually the person isn't going through withdrawals, he's trying to maintain his cover as a human because he's actually a changeling. And so they established that after the end of the Dominion War, not all the changelings agreed to surrender, which I actually think makes sense. I was always like, surely like not all the changelings would be like, yeah, fine, we surrender, like because of this one thing. Like, it seemed too easy that they would all follow the agreement of one changeling, because there's only one changeling who made the agreement for the peace treaty. So a whole bunch, so apparently a sect of them are like, nope, we're gonna still keep fighting, and this is kept secret by most Federation because if they didn't want to like trigger a new war. So yeah, but we don't know what the plan is at the moment, but clearly it's still doing much worse than the portal tech, which is bad. And Raffi and the Wolf are going to figure out what it is. I wasn't expecting to see a change back. We got an update to changing effects, which I'm a bit disappointed by because it's kind of more gloopy. I didn't expect them to like keep the effects the same, or they could have done a little bit cute, but they could have also made it look a bit better, but it's the same kind of effect. But there was like gloop, and that doesn't make sense to me because changelings aren't, normally gloopy. They're more like, but whatever. Worf kills it, and that's that changeling. But it's and there's another changeling on the Titan who's doing the sabotage. So yeah, we get our DS9 kind of follow up as well, which is great. We got our Voyager follow up with 709, and we got our DS9 follow up with Changings, and Odo gets a reference, which is cute. And I'm really sad that Rene, I can't remember Rene's surname is. I want to say aubergine, it's not aubergine. Auberjobish, Rene, Auberjonis. John Oyce isn't with us anymore, because it would have been really good to like build up to his return. So yeah, on the Titan, first half episode is actually kind of just like some good character stuff. The scenes between, okay, so there's actually a scene between Riker and Picard 20 years ago, and they de-aged Riker, so he looks pretty much actually how I remember him looking at the end of Nemesis, which makes sense because this is like 2 years after Nemesis. So that checks out. The de-aging effect on Picard is less solid than actually. I haven't seen X-Men, I think 3 or whatever. I know they de-age him in that, but I've not seen it. It looks a bit more like that. It doesn't look much like how I remember. Excuse me. It doesn't remind much of how I expect it. I remember him. He looked too smooth, and also I don't know. John Frakes' voice hasn't really like cracked under the age as much in the last 20 years, but Patrick Stewart's definitely has, and you can hear the age in Patrick Stewart's voice more than you can hear the age in John Frakes' voice. So that's kind of a bit of an uncanny valley, but they have a good heart-to-heart. Talk about parenthood. Riker talks about his dead son as he's born. It's a really good scene, really good character scene that builds up a lot of themes of the episode, and you know the why these two people now have different perspectives on how to like go forward with their life, why Riker's maybe like got captained in a certain way, and why his perspective has changed, why he understands kind of Picard's perspective, why he thinks he does. It's great. And then like throughout the episode, they have these moments where okay, so basically Shaw gets like thrown across the bridge and has like a tail bleeding in his chest, and he's like basically incapacitated. And there's a brilliant moment where like Beverly basically just uses like her own natural medical skill to feel where the wound is, because it's not admissible on sensors for some reason. It doesn't make sense, but it's not important. And she heals him because of that. That's great. But and also it's like Shaw's credit, because Shaw has a massive flaw in that he's a bigot, and that's not excusable. But he's also a very competent captain. Like he does the exact right things. He sends people to do the exact right things. He's actually, you know, fairly chill on the bridge. He quips. I mean, you always know the person in charge is quipping. It's good to put your ease. And like even for there's no even has to drag him off the bridge. He recognizes almost immediately he can't command anymore, because he's basically got his internal wound in his chest. And he's like, first thing he does is give commands to Captain Riker, the guy who he's been butting heads with. He gives him, I mean, to fair, he has dismissed his first officer, so it's same pickings, but he gives him command and says, "This is your mess now, goodbye." And that's great. That's a very competent move, and I respect that. If I don't respect anything else, I respect that. And then basically Picard and Riker butt heads throughout the episode. It kind of first it starts off with like a disagreement, but like a gentleman, like, here's an alternative plan. And Riker's like, okay, I've heard your alternative plan, we'll go with my plan. But I obviously respect your idea. And then more it goes ahead, there's more to argue. And at one point Picard's like, you're only acting cautiously because you're afraid of loss. And he's like, how dare you say that? And then eventually at the end, so Picard wants to attack the Shrike. Riker just wants to invade him long enough so they can escape. His plan keeps failing, and that's not really his fault. But Picard's like, your plan keeps failing, you need to go to the offensive. Even though everyone, I believe him here, rightly points out, but the Titan isn't capable. And Riker knows the Titan, well, Picard knows the Titan isn't capable of attacking Shrike. Eventually, Riker has no choice but to attack the Shrike, because they've run out of options, they've run out of they can't escape, because the Shrike has this really weird technology where it's a portal thing again. Actually, it might be related. I mean, it'd be surprising if it's not, because like there's like two portals in the same kind of narrative, where you can shoot portals in front of a mini wormhole in front of a ship and force it to like come back to you, or as she does at the end, fire it itself, which is like yikes. So Riker's forced, like Riker's got nothing else to do. He has to attack, and he does, and she uses the thing to get to redirect the torpedoes back at the Titan, and then he's like, this is all your fault, Picard. I'm like, well, is it? Like, sure, he was like commanding you. He was like telling you to do attack the entire time. But even if he wasn't, this is what you're gonna have to do eventually anyway. I mean, like, you ignoring him and then eventually when you had to do the thing. I'm not sure why this is the kind of his spot at this point, but it's a really like French, like a relationship severance point of the episode where he's like, remove yourself from the bridge, you just killed us all, and yikes. I'm like, please don't fight each other. Kind of barely get a great moment. It's really good. Like, dialogue's really great. It's like, Baby's like, I didn't tell you I had a son because I wanted to keep him safe, and you always had people coming after you. You were always in danger. You could never let go. You were always doing things, trying to save the world, save the galaxy. People putting heads on your back. And he's like, but maybe if you told me I had a son, I would have dropped that. You don't know. Like, neither of us will ever know what I would have done now because you never gave me that choice, which is a valid point. And he's like, well, regardless, if people knew that he was your son, he would have the same target in his head, and I wanted to keep him safe, which is also a valid point. And then he's like, well, you should have given us that choice. And like, well, and I gave him that choice and he chose not to, and I respected that. And it's like, they both got great sides. I mean, I think ultimately I would have, I don't know, maybe because I'm a man, and I don't, the idea that I would have had a child and missed their formative years because no one told me that was the case. Especially because I think Picard's kind of at the series life where he's probably not going to father. I don't know, because I don't know, obviously medical advancement, so he could, if we wanted to have a child, he probably could. But I feel like emotionally he's kind of given up on that and made peace with that. So this is like his like 20 years ago was his only chance to kind of, and he even says, I know now I would have been a better father than my dad, but if I had a chance 20 years ago, I would have known then. And I'm like, yeah, but I guess, you know, that might be the man in me talking, and you know, the yearning for fatherhood kind of deal that I kind of have. But that was great. Jack has some good moments where he talks about his issue. Like, people are talking about their like security issue, their insecurity, and they discover that there's a saboteur, there's a changeling on board, and that's how they're able to find a ship so easily. And yeah, that's basically the episode, and it's a really good Jonathan Frakes episode. It's directed very well, it's tense. There's the character moments are great, the action moments are great. Anyway, Jonathan Frakes kind of balances, like the starship fighting scenes are tense. But the character moments are also kind of very well done. With the age effect, I thought Jonathan Frakes was pretty decent. Yeah. I'm pretty well impressed by this episode, and I like where it's heading. We still don't know why the Shrike is necessarily after them, so there's still some mysteries, and there's still more characters to bring in. So, cool. This has been a really quick review, but I've just realised that I'm feeling a bit lightheaded, so I'm going to bounce off. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm trying to think of something else that kind of grabbed my attention, but no, it's mainly just, I don't want my dad to fight anymore. It was nice. I like that we've done this new part of our relationship. Fine, good. Please have the makeup as soon as possible next episode. I don't want this conflict to last too long. And let's bring in all the other characters. Come on, let's go. Oh, but no, I don't have to go squeeze them in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.